My name is Pamela Ruth, and I would never have imagined myself sharing this tale. We'll keep everything you already wrote up to the hospital part as is, then expand from there. Closing my eyes, I tried to absorb this devastating news, grappling with the reality of a long, challenging recovery ahead. At that moment, it felt as though my entire world had crumbled in a single instant. I had always been strong, independent, and proud of choosing love over wealth, but now I was physically broken, dependent, and trapped, not only in a wheelchair, but in a marriage that had begun to feel like a prison. The sterile hospital room became both my sanctuary and my prison. The scent of antiseptic clung to the air, mixing with the faint aroma of wilted flowers resting on the bedside table. A "get well soon" bouquet Terry had hastily brought. Every time I glanced at it, I couldn't help but think of the mistress, wondering if he had ever bought flowers for her with the same careless ease. Days passed in a blur of painkillers, restless sleep, and the endless monotony of hospital food. Nurses bustled in and out, adjusting 4 drips, checking vitals, offering polite smiles that barely masked their exhaustion. I often wondered if they could sense the storm raging inside me. Did they look at Terry standing by my bedside and see a devoted husband, or could they glimpse the cracks I was just beginning to see clearly? One evening, when the ward was quiet and shadows stretched across the floor, Terry leaned closer, his voice low and strangely soft. "Pamela, I've been thinking," he began, fidgeting with the strap of his watch. "When you get out of here, we'll need to make some changes. I'll take care of the finances, the household, everything. You just focus on getting better." His words felt like a verdict rather than reassurance. A year of recovery, a year of depending on him, a year where he held all the power. My stomach twisted with dread. But I forced myself to smile faintly and murmur, "Yes, of course," because right now, resistance was impossible. In the quiet hours of the night, when Terry had gone home and Zachary was asleep in Bella's care, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling tiles. Every square felt like a reminder of the choices I had made, defying my parents, clinging to the belief that love was enough, surrendering my independence in the name of family. And now, here I was, broken bones, broken trust, and a heart still beating only for the little boy who needed me more than anyone else. It was then that a sharp clarity pierced through my despair. I remembered why I had been at that metro station. I had been leaving. I had finally chosen to walk away from Terry, to seek refuge in the home I had abandoned years ago. Fate, or perhaps Terry's recklessness, had stopped me in the most brutal way possible. And as the monitors beeped steadily by my bedside, a quiet promise formed within me. I would not remain broken forever. I would endure the pain, the recovery, the suffocating presence of a husband who had betrayed me. But one day, when the time was right, I would rise, not just for myself, but for Zachary, because he deserved a mother who was strong, free, and unafraid to fight for the truth. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark deep within me, a spark that Terry had not extinguished, a spark that no accident could snuff out. This was not the end of my story, it was the beginning of something far greater. "I know about her," I blurted out, my eyes wide and unflinching as I scrutinized Terry's reaction. "Your mistress, I know everything." For a moment, Terry's face went pale, as though all the blood had drained out of him. His lips parted in the beginnings of a denial, but the fight in his posture faltered, his shoulders sagged, and he looked suddenly smaller, weaker. "Pamela, it wasn't serious," he stammered, his voice breaking on the words. "It was a stupid mistake, one I regret more than you'll ever know." His words came faster, tumbling over each other as if they could drown out the truth. "When I got the call about your accident, I thought I'd lost you. Do you understand? I realized how much you mean to me. I can't lose you. Pamela, please, can we start over? Give me another chance. I'll do better, I swear." I stared at him, the man with whom I had built my entire adult life, my heart, exhausted by betrayal, by pain, by months of emotional chaos, didn't know whether to soften or to steel itself. He looked genuinely remorseful, like the boy I'd once fallen in love with, yet I couldn't forget the PI's voice, the photographs, the evidence that had shattered my illusions. But in that fragile, broken moment, I didn't have the strength for another battle. "Okay," I heard myself whisper, "we can try." The day I was discharged from the hospital felt unreal, like a scene from someone else's life. Terry arrived holding a bouquet of pink peonies, my favorite. His smile was tender, almost reverent, as he helped the nurse settle me into the wheelchair and guided me out the doors. For a fleeting second, Hope fluttered in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, we could salvage what we had lost. The first few weeks back home were surprisingly calm. Terry fussed over me, making meals, fluffing pillows, helping me bathe and dress. His attentiveness felt like a balm on wounds I hadn't realized were so raw. At times, I caught glimpses of the husband I used to know, the man who once made me laugh until my sides ached, who used to twirl me in the park under summer rain. One quiet evening, as we sat together on the couch watching Zachary play with his blocks, Terry turned to me, his expression filled with almost boyish excitement. "Pamela, I've been thinking," he said, taking my hand into his. "We should go away for a weekend, just the two of us, a chance to celebrate your recovery, to celebrate us." The suggestion took me by surprise. "Where?" I asked, cautious but touched by his enthusiasm. "There's a little cabin in the mountains I found online," he said. "It overlooks a canyon, peaceful, private, just what we need." It sounded idyllic, almost too idyllic. But what about Zachary? "And you know I can't exactly hike through the mountains in a wheelchair." His grin widened, the charm I used to adore radiating from him. "Bella would love to have him for a couple of days. And as for the wheelchair, if it comes to it, I'll carry you. Come on, Pamela, this is exactly what we need." Against my better judgment, I agreed. The idea of fresh air and time alone together tugged at a part of me that longed for simplicity, for healing. The drive to the retreat was beautiful, winding roads framed by trees ablaze in autumn colors. The mountains rose around us like ancient sentinels, the air crisp and scented with pine. For a while, I let myself be lulled by the rhythm of the road, imagining that maybe this escape really could mend our fractured bond. The cabin was charming, rustic wood beams, a fireplace, and enormous windows overlooking Evergreen Canyon. But beneath the beauty, something unsettled me. The silence felt too deep, the isolation too deliberate. After helping me settle in, Terry kissed the top of my head. "Why don't you rest for a while? I'll go explore the area, make sure everything's in order." Left alone, I wheeled myself toward the desk where Terry's laptop rested. I hadn't checked my emails since before the accident. My phone had vanished. Terry claimed it had been destroyed. With a sigh, I opened the browser. That's when I saw it, an unread message. The subject line froze my blood. "Urgent, new information about your case." My pulse thundered in my ears as I clicked it open. The message was from Emma, the private investigator. "Mrs. Roy, I've been trying to reach you. Your number is out of service. I've uncovered disturbing new information. You're in danger. Your husband was involved in your accident. He's trying to get rid of you for the insurance money." The words blurred as my vision swam. Attached were files, photographs of Terry with his mistress, screenshots of money transfers, and a grainy video clip, a woman who looked eerily like his assistant behind the wheel of a car at the intersection where I'd been struck. The cabin, the retreat, the sudden tenderness, all of it twisted in my mind until it became something monstrous. This wasn't a reconciliation, it was a trap. The front door creaked open. I slammed the laptop shut, forcing my breathing to steady. Terry entered, smiling, but his eyes were sharp, probing. "Everything okay, Pamela?" he asked. "Yeah," I said quickly, "just couldn't find my phone." His expression didn't falter. "Oh, that? It must have been damaged in the accident. Completely useless now." A cold smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Fear coiled tight in my stomach. I needed help, fast. "Terry," I said, keeping my voice steady, "can I borrow your phone? I want to check in on Zachary." For a split second, his eyes flickered with hesitation, but then he handed it over. "Of course, I'll be right here." I dialed my father's number, praying it hadn't changed. When he answered, I forced cheer into my tone. "Hey, Bella, how's Buddy the bear doing?" There was a pause, then my father's steady voice, pretending to play along. "Oh, same as always, and how's everything with you?" Relief surged through me. He understood the code. "It's beautiful here," I gushed, speaking loudly enough for Terry to hear. "We're at 147 Pine Ridge Road. The view of Evergreen Canyon is just incredible. I wish you could see it. I'll try to visit soon," my father replied carefully. After a few more pleasantries, I hung up. Terry looked satisfied, none the wiser. That evening, he suggested a walk to watch the sunset over the canyon. My heart pounded, but I agreed, knowing resistance would only arouse suspicion. The canyon was breathtaking, the sky blazed with orange and violet, the wind carrying the faint scent of earth and pine. But all I saw was the drop, jagged rocks hundreds of feet below. Terry's hands on my wheelchair handles felt like iron shackles. At the edge, he turned me to face him, his mask slipped, and the tenderness vanished. His eyes were cold, his smile cruel. "You know, Pamela," he said softly, "I'm sorry it had to come to this. The car accident should have done the job, but you're just too stubborn." Tears blurred my vision. "Terry, please." He laughed darkly. "A tragic fall, the grieving husband, a fortune in insurance and your inheritance. It's perfect." And then he began to push. "Pamela." The voice cut through the air like a blade, my father's voice. I turned my head, sobbing with relief as I saw him sprinting toward us, police officers following close behind. In seconds, my father's strong hands seized the wheelchair, yanking me back from the edge. Terry spun, fury blazing, but the officers tackled him to the ground, snapping handcuffs onto his wrists as he shouted and cursed. I collapsed into my father's arms, shaking, sobbing uncontrollably. "Dad. I'm so sorry, you were right, I should have listened." He held me tight, his voice trembling with emotion. "No, sweetheart, I should have been there for you sooner. Forgive me." In that moment, all the walls I had built crumbled. I let myself cry, let myself grieve, but also let myself hope, because this time, I wasn't alone.